We're now into mid-April and preparing for our bluegill season. Of course, what comes first is bluegills on the beds as they're spawning using a fly rod. So when I've got this sheet of rubber material that you can make dry spiders out of, it's a 3mm thick, one sheet, costs you about $1, and you can make quite a few spiders out of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace out 5 spiders and cut those out, and we'll start with that. Alright, we got 5 spiders traced out on this. I like my spiders the height of a nickel. And it doesn't matter how good they look. When you tie them, it'll look in the form of a spider, and they will catch plenty of bluegills. Now we're going to take these and we're going to cut them out with a pair of scissors. I like to do 5 at a time because once I put some epoxy on a plate, I can get 5 about done before it gets to the point where it's too hard to use. And by putting epoxy on these spiders, they will last you as long as the rubber legs last. So we're talking 2 to 3 years. Alright, now to cut these out, we've got our pattern here. Doesn't have to be perfect. Get us a pointy tail for the rear of the spider. Kind of round off the head a little bit. Then make a little indent halfway for the body. Try to center that a little bit. Now make the head proportional to that. Again, this does not have to be perfect. The bluegills are not going to know the difference. Okay. There I've got a spider body. You tie that, it'll look just fine. Everyone's going to be unique, a little different. Take another one. Put her down. Give me a point for the tail. So now I've got a point down for the tail. Round the head off a little bit here. Now I want to make a slice in here for the body. From the head to the abdomen, I'll just take the tip of my scissors, make a little cut in there. Okay, you can see now I've got the shape of that going. Make one on the other side, about the same depth. There, you've got a spider body. Now the head's a little large to the body. We want the head just a little smaller, so we're going to trim a little bit off this head. Alright, now we got the head a little smaller. You can see the 5. Now for our spider legs, we're going to use this rubber. It peels off. It's already pre-cut in the legs here. I bought a whole roll of this about 15 years ago. You can buy it by the roll. I paid like $1 for this whole roll. It's lasted me quite a few years. And we'll use 2 legs per side. Now to give you an idea of the size of our spider, like I said, we like it the height of a nickel, so that's approximate. Each spider is unique. Now we'll take these, we'll put a hook into our vise, and we'll start tying these. For these spiders, we're going to use a size 8 hook, just a regular shank hook here. Now, they will slide around the spider as you're tie wrapping it to it. Don't worry about it. Once you get everything tied down and you epoxy it, that will hold the body and everything together. Alright, we'll take one of our rubber spiders that we just cut off. Got a little tail point, little head. Like I said, it's not perfect. Bluegills don't care. This will work great. If you want a little smaller spider than the length of a nickel, go down to the next size hook. Remember, this is an 8 shank hook. And then make your spider body a little smaller. I mean, for a $1, for a sheet of that stuff, you can cut out hundreds of them. So you can practice all you want. And if you don't like it, tear it apart, redo it again. Now to start, we're going to take some black thread here. This is some sewing machine thread that I stole out of my wife's thread box. 150 yards of 137M. I have no idea what that means, but it works great. First thing I want to do is I want to layer this hook and get a base to it. That way it gives me something to epoxy to when I'm epoxying this to lock everything down. So we're going to wrap this. And just work right down that thread there once you get it over looped so that it locks that right on. Then come right back up. And then where you want to stop after you get a good base on it, I'm going to come right back down to where about the sides of that spider is, where we made the V's. This tail here, we don't need this piece that we started with. Get that out of there because it's going to get in our way. Don't want to throw that away though. We're going to use that later to tie off this. All right, here's our spider. Like I said, there's the V's. I want to put the head of that spider so it's just under the eyelet of this hook. Get that thread down a little further. We're up too high still, right there. Okay, there's the center of the spider where the V is. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wraps. Nice and tight wraps. All right, we have those now. So now we need our legs. So again, here's the rubber I bought, and you can see that this thing's cut into strips. And if you look very closely, you can see those strips. Well, what we want is 2 of those on each side. So we're going to take a piece that has 2 of them. This one right here has 2 left on it. We're going to cut it long enough to do both sides here. And then we'll cut that in half. Piece off there. Going to cut that in half. Doesn't matter if it's equal or not. Don't care. You trim the legs up when you're all said and done. You can do it even after your epoxy. You can even see where it's starting to split already right here. We can do that after it's epoxy too. Pull those apart. So now we'll take our legs. We'll line them up. Now you can do 1 at a time. You can do 2 at a time. However you want to do it. That's 1 wrap. There's 2 wraps. 3 wraps. I want to square up my legs. Get this one back over on this side. I got those 2 on that side. These 2 on this side. 4, 5, 6, 7. I got 8 wraps on there. All right, now how do we lock this down? Rotate your spider over upside down. Take your thread that you had left over. Make a loop in it like that. Keep that loop up here. Give me 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 wraps. Cut it off. Put that through that loop. I'll take the other end of that loop and pull that right underneath and pull it right out just like that. That is plenty tight. It's going to stay. Get rid of that. Rotate our spider back up. Let's adjust our legs. Our legs adjusted. Cut them off to the length we want. Now, like I said, we can separate them, or we can epoxy them. I'll show you how to separate one. It will look great. Just take your point of your scissors. Unless you got fingernails, you can do that. Go right through there. Now those legs are separated on that one. You can do the same thing here on this one, and of course, you want to do the same thing here on this side. One of them is already working through here. There, I got him. Plenty of legs there. Got those 2 apart. I've got plenty of legs here. Take that off. Now here's our spider upside down. Next thing we want to do is epoxy this. We want to epoxy this from all the way up here to the top of this thread, below the eyelet here, all the way down to where this hook is starting to lift off the body. Here's the 5-minute epoxy I use for applying to the back of my spiders. I'm going to do 3 here for you. Okay, I've dripped on just a little bit here. Now, a good thing to use for this is toothpicks. I'm going to use the end of a brush here to mix these up and then apply them to my spiders. Alright, I've got this mixed up now. Now I'm just going to take a little bit of this and apply it to the back of that spider. All the way up to the top of that hook. Do the same thing on the next spider. Again, this is why you only do 3 or 5 of these at a time. The epoxy will dry pretty fast, this 5-minute epoxy. Alright, there we got those 3 done. Again, the toothpick will work a lot better than this brush. Now as you're letting these dry, just make sure your hooks are straight up from the body, or straight down, if you want to call it that. Let that dry, and you're ready to fish. Give you an idea how long it takes to make one of these. Once you start out with your sheet of sponge body, again, this is what I use. You probably got 2 minutes into making the spider, another minute to cut the bodies out. I wouldn't go any larger than this number 8 hook, unless you're going to go for bass on the fly rod with those. And you might even try the next size down, cut your bodies a little smaller like I mentioned before. This will give you a lot of fun fly rod. Make sure you use a monofilament on the end of your fly line, almost the length of your rod, maybe a foot to 2 foot short, so the end's not getting up to the last guide up there and coming in. And then buy yourself a little fly line wax to wax that. Another thing you can do is put these on a bobber with about 2 foot behind it. Again, a little fly line wax on that to help it float. Throw that over the beds and drag it in real slow, and you'll have a lot of fun. Now here are the 3 spiders that we epoxied, all ready to go. See on the bottom, got the epoxy on there. Again, this will help the rubber spider, the body and the legs, stay together for 2 to 3 years. What's going to happen first is the rubber legs will dry out to a point that you'll throw it away. But you'll catch a lot of fish on these. Unlike a store-bought spider, where you're going to pay anywhere from $1 to $1.30 each for these, they'll last about a dozen bluegills, and then they're no good. Also went out, got some number 10 size hooks. I can only find in red, and we'll make some smaller spiders with those. And depending on how aggressive the bluegills are or how soft they're biting, we'd go to a little smaller spider. Now we've completed our 3 spiders with a number 8 size hook and a number 10 size. The larger spider with the larger hook on the right side, and the 3 spiders with the size 10 hook on the left side. Here you can see a slight difference, and depending on how aggressive the bluegills are, I would use the larger one, less aggressive, the little smaller one. That concludes our preparation for our fly fishing season to get our spiders ready. Good luck with your bluegill season.